folks, Mr. G here with another educational video. This time we're going to be talking about adding subtracting fractions in word problems. The other thing that we're going to be talking about today is how we deal with adding and subtracting fractions that are mixed fractions. If you remember last time, we saw some examples with proper fractions and improper fractions, but we didn't talk about any examples with mixed fractions. Now, mixed fractions turn up a lot in word problems because it's something that we use very commonly in the world around us. So at the same time we're going to be talking about word problems, we're also going to be talking about how to add and subtract fractions with mixed fractions. Alright, here's our question. Julia and Francis are building a treehouse together. Julia has 1 1/3 sheets of plywood, and Francis has 2 3/5 sheets of plywood. The question is, how many sheets of plywood do they have together? Clearly this is asking for us to add together 1 1/3 and 2 3/5. Now there's a couple different ways we can do this. The first way that we could add these two together is if we make them improper. Like we said last time, we already talked about how to add improper fractions together, and we can turn these into improper fractions by multiplying these two together and adding it to the top. Once we have them like this, we can find a common denominator. In this case, 15 will work. So this divided by 15, right, we'd have to multiply the bottom by 5, which means we multiply the top by 5. Over here, we'd have to multiply the bottom by 3, so we multiply the top by 3. We can add these two together, and we get our answer of 59/15. The other option we have is to add our whole numbers, then our fractions, separately. If you remember, 1 1/3, this is the same as 1 + 1/3, and 2 3/5, this is the same as 2 + 3/5. So what we can do here is we can take all of this and add our numbers together and then add our fractions together. 1 + 2 is equal to 3. Here we need to find a common denominator again, and 15 is going to work. So here we'd multiply the bottom by 5 to get 15, so we have to multiply the top by 5. Here we multiply the bottom by 3, so the top by 3 as well. Now we can add these two fractions together. And just like we said that 1 1/3 is the same as 1 + 1/3, 3 + 14/15 is the same as 3 14/15. Notice if we want our answer to be improper, turning these into improper fractions is probably the best way to do it. But if we wanted our answer to be a mixed fraction, leaving them all as mixed fractions means we don't have to convert this back into a mixed fraction at the end. The second part of this question says that they need 5½ sheets to build the treehouse. So how many more do they need? Again, let's solve it both ways, one using improper fraction, the other using mixed fractions. If you remember, our first part told us that their improper fraction, they had 59/15 sheets of plywood. So we want to find what the difference is here. That would be how many more they need. Again, we have to convert both of these into improper fractions. So 2 times 5 + 1 gives us 11/2. In this case, we need a common denominator. 30 would work. Here we have to multiply the top and the bottom by 15. Here we have to multiply the top and bottom by 2. And then we can subtract these, and we would get an answer of 47/30. We could do the same thing with a mixed fraction. One thing you have to be careful about when you're doing subtraction with mixed fractions is that this subtracting is happening on this 3 as well as this fraction here. When we subtract 3 and 14/15, we are subtracting 3 and we are subtracting 14/15. We're not adding this fraction here, we're subtracting both. So now we can move stuff around. 5 - 3 + 1/2 - 14/15. 5 - 3 is 2. Here, our common denominator is 30 as well. So in this case, we would get 15/30. Here, we would get 28/30. And when we subtract those two, we would get 2 - 13/30. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, unlike our previous example where we had a plus here, this minus means that we can't just smush these two together and call it our answer. This is not the same as 2 and 13/30. or negative 2 and 13 over 30. That doesn't work that way. So instead what we need to do is we need to find a common denominator here. So in this case 30 as well. And we would subtract these two, get 47 over 30, and we also get our answers to match. This is one drawback with working with just the mixed numbers, is sometimes you'll run into this trouble. You'll run into a problem where you end up with a minus sign here, and then you have to convert it into improper fractions and deal with it this way. Personally, I really like just converting it into improper fractions first, and then if you need to convert this into a mixed fraction for the answer, but if you liked using these mixed numbers, you're welcome to do that as well. The last part of this question says that the store only sells full sheets of plywood. So how many should they buy? Well, we know that they need 47 over 30. But how many full sheets is that? Well, let's turn it into a mixed fraction. 30 goes into 47 once, and we get a remainder of 17. So this would be equal to 1 and 17 over 30. So this is more than one sheet, but not as many as two. So if they wanted to buy enough wood to make their tree house, they would need to buy 2 sheets, because one wouldn't be enough. All right, let's see how much of this you understood. There's a question on the screen. Pause the video, grab a piece of paper, try it out for yourself. All done? All right, let's go over the answer. So if we started off with 7 3/4 bags, and then we give away 2 1/2, and then we give away 3 1/3, that's like subtracting away those two fractions. And then whatever's left is how much he has left. In this case, I prefer to work with improper fractions when I'm doing adding and subtracting. So what I'm going to do is convert all of these into improper fractions. 7 times 4 plus 3 is 31. This would give us 5 over 2, and this would give us 10 over 3. Now, if you're doing an adding or subtracting problem where you have multiple different denominators, one thing you can try and do is find a common denominator for all of them. In this case, 12 would be a common denominator because 12 can be divided by 4, 2, and 3. So I should be able to convert all of these into fractions with a denominator of 12. For this one, I can multiply by 3. This one, I have to multiply by 6. For this one, I have to multiply by 4. 93 minus 30 minus 40 would give us a total of 23 over 12, but we were asked to answer with a mixed fraction. So we've got to divide 23 by 12, goes in once, we have a remainder of 11, so our answer would be 1 and 11 over 12. That's how many bags I have left. That's the end of the video here. Make sure you try out some of the practice problems, and I'll see you all in the next video.